Nice to be in India this morning. It was a very relatively mellow flight, right, Chris? No problems. We got in and out. Um, uh, I really appreciate you guys inviting me and giving me an opportunity to share my experience, strength, and hope. And I chose the topic of setting aside everything that I think I know, because I think I know everything. And turns out not so much. My sobriety date is May 20th, 2013. That's not my first date. I do hope that it is my last. I haven't felt the need to drink since I actually started following this recipe that's in this great book of ours. So I will talk a little bit about that in a minute, but I want to let you know that I have a sponsor. My sponsor knows they're my sponsor. I also sponsor women. It's truly one of the great joys of my life. And they all know that I'm their sponsor, and I sure know that I sponsor them. And I have a home group. My home group is the West Hollywood Recovery Center Midnight Group. And here we go. So, they say that I was told to qualify, and I always feel awkward about this part of my share, because it's a little bit of what I was like, but it's also a little bit of why, like, it's my idea of what's important to talk about. And the thing that I've learned from you in these rooms and through this program is that what I think is important is ever changing and ever evolving. And God willing, I will continue to be teachable for as many 24 hours as I have on this earth. And I'll keep on changing and evolving. So, I may feel very strongly about something today and it could change tomorrow. That doesn't make me wishy-washy. I'm not going to change just because, it's something cool to do. It's going to be based on information, right? Because I have learned through this program, I've learned from you guys to not have contempt prior to investigation, to be armed with facts about myself, to make sure that my action and my words are congruent. So those are things that maybe some people came in here knowing. That is not my story. So I'm the oldest of two kids. My parents went to the United States from Mexico, and went to the United States for the same reason a lot of people go, for opportunity and to give their kids a better life, and more opportunity for their kids, a better education, all of that. And my parents were very, very into the American dream. They, sacrificed a lot to give my brother and I the life that we have. They gave up their culture and their language and their traditions and everything that they knew, everything that was familiar to them. And they went to this foreign country and learned a new language and a new way of life. And they did the best that they could. And I didn't always feel that way. You guys gave me that. When I came into the rooms, if you had heard me share in my first year of sobriety, you would have sworn that my parents kept me in a box under the bed, because I was, and I am, left to my own devices, just the queen of spin and the queen of, like, oh my God, nobody has it worse than me. And the thing is that I believed it. So, my parents really, like I said, they were very enamored with the American dream, and, just very committed to, they just wanted to be like what they had grown up seeing America was like, the United States was like. And my mother was obsessed with the Kennedys. And John Kennedy was the first Catholic president of the United States. We're Catholic. It was a very big deal to them. Like, if you came to my house growing up, there would be pictures of, like, our family, the Pope, the Kennedys, Cesar Chavez. Like, that was my house. And the people in my family are all the names of the people in my family reflect all that. My mother was obsessed with the Kennedys. Like I said, she named my brother and I after the Kennedys. So the names of the people in my family are Ramon, Rogelio, Pepe, Gogo, Pilar, Rosita, Jackie, and John. And we were given those names as a reminder of all that's possible in the United States. So I grew up with a lot of pressure. Like it might not seem that way, but boy, oh boy, was the message clear to me from an early age that I better do right, I better act right, I better be right. Because everything that I said or did or didn't do reflected on all Mexicans. So I, as a really young little girl, got the message that I had to like be perfect and carry the burden for all Mexicans in the whole world. And so if there are any here, you're welcome, Mexicans. And you know, I just became very, you're welcome, Christian, Tio dude, you're here. I just became like very convinced of whatever I believed to be true, that was true. So my opinion was fact. What I wanted was the most important thing. And hyper, hyper, hyper independent, hyper, hyper, hyper overachieving. Why? Because I was trying desperately not to be like the people in my house. I love my parents, but my parents were like, we call them partiers, right? It says in our book that we don't like to take others' inventory. Maybe we don't like to, but I think we do. I'll speak in first person. I definitely do. But you know, my parents were partiers. There were always people at our house. It was always a party, quote unquote. And what that looked like to me as a little kid was, you know, a bunch of irresponsible adults passed out, people I don't know, strangers in the house, and just shenanigans, stuff going on that no little girl should have to deal with. And, you know, when I think about my childhood, I don't really have a lot of memories of like being a kid. By the time I was 9, I knew how to bail my parents out of jail for DUI, driving under the influence. I knew how to spot unmarked police cars because my uncles would pay me to do that. You know, I was taking care of my brother and taking care of my parents, and I would come home and, you know, clean up and things like that. And instead of being just angry all the time, which I was, I acted like everything was fine. So I just became a really good liar from a very young age. But I didn't know that until you guys told me. And so I pretended I had this whole outside life. So my parents seemed irresponsible and out of control to me. I spent as much time as I could outside with other people and getting attention from them. So validation was for sure my first drug of choice, let's call it that. I am an alcoholic and I'm not mixing anything. I'm just saying that I would do anything to get that validation, to get attention. So you know, whatever it was, if it was get good grades, I got the best grades. If it was register voters, I registered the most. If it was Girl Scouts, I got all the badges. You know, I couldn't just be a cheerleader, I had to be the head cheerleader. I couldn't just be homecoming queen, I had to be homecoming queen and prom queen. And, you know, it's like I was never able to like just relax and be, and I was always running and never getting anywhere, but really hyper competitive and independent, and just, I didn't need anybody. And I don't even remember actually believing that, but I know I always acted that way. And I acted like I didn't need anybody. I knew everything. I had this, I was going to figure it out. And you know what? The truth is that I did pretty well. My parents are both alcoholics. My brother is also, we need to keep a seat open for him. And, you know, I just wanted to do whatever it took to not be like them. And my whole identity was caught up in everything that had to do outside of my house. I'm sorry, I'm getting a work messages, and I shouldn't be doing that. And I'm apologize to you guys. And so I went to Catholic school. We were taught by Jesuits, and the Jesuits believe in you show me your faith, you don't tell me about your faith. And I liked that. I liked that. You know, I liked being of service. I liked volunteering. I liked all of that. And I actually thought the nuns in my school were like the coolest people I'd ever seen. They were like women who were wearing dresses, but they could play kickball and soccer and softball better than any of the boys. And I just thought they were the coolest. And I actually wanted to be a nun until puberty, right? And then when I discovered boys, like that was it. So being a nun was over. But I was, on the one hand, pretending to know everything. On the other hand, I was incredibly naive. You know, I was the kid who, like, I don't even know if this is going to translate, but I'm going to try. I was at school and I went into math class one day, and this boy yelled across the class, "Hey, Jackie, what comes after 69?" And I said, 70, right? And he was like, "Mouthwash." And everybody laughed. And I didn't understand that joke at all. I had no idea what it meant. But, everything got around school super fast and everybody was talking about it. And we had a game that night and I was a cheerleader, and on the bus, like all the basketball players were like laughing. And I was so wound so tightly that I didn't even let myself ask what the joke was, because I had to figure everything out, everything. I didn't ask for help. I didn't ask for your opinion. I didn't do any research. I just figured it out. And so I sort of thought that it had something to do with oral something. And so I heard somebody say something about oral sex, and I was like, oh, well, that's when you talk about it, because I'm that smart. And so I went to confession, and I confessed to the priest that every day after school, my best friends, Penny and Gina, and I have oral sex. And the priest went to my house. I came home, and him and my mother were sitting outside drinking and smoking cigarettes and laughing at me. And that's my childhood. Like, that's my childhood. The most private, the most embarrassing, the most public stuff. It's just like everybody laughs and everybody just makes a joke about it. And so I got the message really, really early on to just keep things to myself, keep moving, don't stay in one place. And that's what I did. And so my life looked pretty good from the outside. And I'm going to jump to adulthood because, my parents, they drank and they got in a lot of trouble. My mother was a Playboy bunny and my dad played minor league baseball, and then he was in other businesses and then eventually went to prison. And, my life looked pretty good on the outside in the sense that I ended up going to a good school. I'm the first person in my family to go to college, and I went to Yale, and then I was an intern in the White House, and then I had a lot of very fancy jobs. I never felt that way, but I did have those jobs. My mother just kept drinking, and as soon as I started earning my own money, I would do anything to get her to stop drinking. I would send her to rehabs, and I would send her to an ashram and a spa and whatever she wanted to do. I would send her anywhere that somebody told me about something that could help her to stop drinking. I didn't know that my mother was sick. I didn't know that she had a disease. I did not know what alcoholism was. I knew that I was mad. I knew that she drank. I knew that she promised she was going to stop, and she didn't. I knew that she would miss my birthday party. She missed my graduation. She would forget things. She would not show up for things. She would embarrass me. She'd show up at my school wearing a bikini, like, it's not cute. And I love my mother, but I was always angry at her. And every single time she would just more promises that she didn't keep. And she's going to quit drinking. She's going to quit drinking. She's going to quit drinking. And, my mother died from this disease. And I held my mother in my arms as she took her last breath. And I can tell you that an alcoholic death is not pretty. It's not sexy. It's not funny. It's not fast. It's not quick. It's gross. It smells. It's painful. The look of terror in her eyes every time she'd cough up blood, the yellow of her eyes, the smell, it's awful. And my dad was in prison and my brother was God knows where. And it was just me and her. And I had done everything that I could. And I was mad and I was sad and I held her in my arms. And the last thing that my mother said to me, she looked at me and said, I promise, Mika, this time I'm going to quit drinking. And, I had heard her say that thousands of times my whole life. And that was the only time that she kept her promise, because she died and she never drank again. And I was furious. I was furious at her because I needed my mother. I needed her. And I was mad at her for not taking care of herself. I was mad at her for drinking. And I was mad at God for letting her die. And about this time, about 2 months later, my favorite cousin died of AIDS, and our priest at our church would not perform mass for him. So between those two events, because, God, it's all about me. My mother's dead, my cousin's dead, the priest won't perform mass, and it affects me. And that was, I was done. I was done with the Catholic Church. I was done with God. And I spent the next bunch of years of my life making fun of anybody who had any kind of faith, any kind of religion, any kind of dogma, any kind of anything. And so my plan was always to run for office. I wanted to be the first Mexican-American female senator from California. And I accidentally stumbled into show business along the way, which is, I'm not going to bore you with the details, but, I did stand-up comedy, and my plan was to do stand-up comedy in order to get on stages, to be able to shine a light on the people and the things and the issues in the community that was important to me. And I wanted to be like the Mexican Oprah, not like billionaire Oprah, but like fat Oprah who would run up and down the stairs and kick her shoes off and, everybody's girlfriend. And that's what I wanted to do. And I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I had. I never intended to be an actor or any of that. It just happened. And I'll tell you that by the time, I'm not saying this as a brag, it's part of my story. So by the time I was 30, I was a millionaire. I supported my brother and his kids and his ex-wives and my mother. And I, of course, never needed a man's help. Therefore, I never got one. And I had a great career. I have an Emmy. I've been in movies. I played Jennifer Lopez's sister in the movie Selena. I did a movie with Woody Allen. I've written books. I worked as a plus size model. I've done a lot of things in my life. I lost 170 pounds. I've kept it off for 18 years. I quit smoking 2 packs a day. I say this because it says in our book that we are people who are able and capable in other areas of our life. I had a lot of success on the outside, looked pretty good. I married the love of my life, and it all looked really, really good on the outside. I never once took a drink of alcohol my entire life. Not in high school, not in college. At my wedding, I didn't toast at my wedding, nothing, because I was not going to end up like my parents. Come hell or high water, there was no way I was going to be like them. And I had done everything that I knew how to do to prove that I wasn't like them, right? And when my mother died, I developed severe insomnia. Not like, oh, I'm tossing and turning and I'm sleepy, like hallucinating, 11 days of no sleep, hallucinating. And the doctors couldn't figure out what to do with me. I'm sorry, I'm setting my timer. The doctors couldn't figure out what to do, how to help me. And they tried everything. And I couldn't go on this way. And so they were either going to put me in the hospital or they suggested that I try red wine. I had never drank alcohol, like I said. And to me, it was like putting the weapon that killed my mother in my mouth. And so, because I'm dramatic, la drama, right? I wasn't just going to like drink it. No, my ex-husband went and got a bottle of wine and put it in a glass, and I took a straw and I plugged my nose and it was like, and like, oh God, and the crying and the snot bubbles and the whole thing. And I drank the glass of wine, and it was disgusting, but it was glorious. I slept that night and it was so good. I slept better than I had slept in so long. I couldn't remember the last time I'd slept like that. Alcohol was my solution. And I woke up the next morning and I couldn't wait until nighttime to have that wine again and go to sleep and relax. And it was just so nice. And I had a whole bunch of people who depended on me because I created it that way. I set my life up that way. I was surrounded by people who I paid. Nobody was going to tell me no to anything. And I started off plugging my nose and drinking that wine through a straw. And after 2 weeks, at the end of 2 weeks, I was drinking 2 bottles a day by myself. And my whole life became about drinking. And I'm a blackout drunk. And I surrounded myself with people who were able and willing to just spend every day drinking, getting drunk, doing whatever you do when you're drunk. And, I very quickly woke up. It was about 3 weeks after drinking for the first time. And like I said, I am a blackout drunk. So it's not like I have like these great stories of, oh my God, I had so much fun. I would drink, black out, wake up, and then try to piece it together. And I woke up one day in a hotel room in Las Vegas. I live in Los Angeles. And I was in a hotel in Las Vegas with somebody who was not my husband. And I can tell you that there was not one part of me that ever in a million years thought that I would cheat on my husband. I would do these things. And it's not like I cheated on him once. I left this room. I couldn't get out of there fast enough. I didn't know who this person was. I knew he wasn't my husband. I didn't know how I got there. What did we do? Were we safe? Did I want it? What? None of it. I didn't know any of that. And I could not get out of there fast enough. I got out of there and I got into the elevator and I was crying. And all I could think of was, how am I going to look my husband in the eyes? How am I going to look at those eyes that look at me with love, knowing what I'd done, even though I kind of didn't know what I'd done, but I knew I wasn't with him. And I couldn't believe alcohol had robbed me of everything. It had robbed me of my family, my mother, God, I like it. And now this. And I got in that elevator to get the hell out of that hotel. And as I was going down the elevator, I could see myself in the brass doors. I could see my image and I was just disgusted. And I wanted to rip my skin off. And I just that's it. I'm never going to drink again. I am never going to drink again. And just all I have to do is get out of here and get home and I will figure it out. And those elevator doors opened and all I had to do was walk to the valet parking and get in a cab and get to the airport. And I'm walking through that lobby and there was like a coffee place, coffee kiosk thing. And I sat down there because I was just going to have a coffee. And 3 days later, I was still in that hotel drinking with somebody else that I didn't know. And that is what makes me an alcoholic. It's not that my parents are alcoholics. It's not that I have survived difficult situations. It's not that I was not a child as a child. It's because when I put it into my body, it takes over and I become somebody I wouldn't let into your house. I forget about my dreams. I forget about the things that are important to me. I betray everyone and everything that is holy to me. And I don't care. I don't care. I'm willing to commit murder for that next drink. Because I told you I'm a blackout drunk. And I would drive literally each night from Toluca Lake to Beverly Hills, which is, I know you don't know what it is, but it's through a canyon. So it's not easy when you're sober, but when you're blacked out drunk, it's ridiculous. And I put every single person who was on the road with me at risk. I didn't care if they were on their way to say goodbye to a dying parent or to have a baby, or didn't matter. I want another drink. And what I want is the most important thing. And so in 1 year, I had seizures, a bleeding ulcer. I have 614 stitches in different parts of my body. I still to this day do not know what happened. The state of California took my license away. I stopped working. Can't tell you how many times I lied to my husband and cheated and went places, and I was all over the place. And that's in 1 year. So that alcohol robs me of my choice. Yeah, 100%. That I don't know how, I can't stop. I just can't. And you know what kept me from the solution that you so freely talked about every single time that I got near you was the fact that I know everything, that you can't tell me anything, that I have done everything on my own. Therefore, don't even try to tell me. I'm not going to follow rules. My arrogance is off the charts. The first time I went to an AA meeting, I was out in the parking lot at halftime when everybody's smoking, and I'm out in the parking lot on the phone with my cousin saying, I can't believe that they found this many people in Los Angeles this poorly dressed. That's who I am. That's who I am. I'm the person who comes into the meeting late, wearing high heels, making noise, clunk, 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 sit down, and then, 10 minutes later, clunk, 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 clunk. I have to go to the bathroom and like walk and make sure everybody sees my outfit and make noise and go to the bathroom and hug people and be loud and drink your coffee and and follow nothing and lie to you. I lied the whole first 2 years I was there. I was drinking in your meetings. I was pretending to be doing things that I wasn't doing. I was stealing your stories because I would hear what people experience and I wasn't doing it. So I'd like, I did this and then that happened. It was all a lie. I didn't know that my life depended on this. I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you when you told me that this book is a textbook. I didn't hear you when you told me that these steps and this program for living is a recipe, that if I follow it, I'm going to get the same results every single time. If I follow it, if I do it precisely, if I follow suggestions. I didn't hear you when you said, rarely have we seen a person failed who has thoroughly followed our path. I didn't hear you when you said half measures availed us nothing, because I know everything and I can figure it out. And you know what? The truth is, and I always tell my sponsees this, it worked for me in every single area of my life. I never had to study as hard as everybody else. I never I mean, I've been able to figure a lot of things out and figure out how to cut corners. And the only place my entire life that I have been forced, and I use that word deliberately, to do things exactly as they're supposed to be done is in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that 15 months when I burned my life to the ground. Now, I know how like ridiculous that sounds, but you know what? I had been running scared my whole life. I had always been in a hurry, never getting there. I was always, nothing was ever enough. This job, I was looking for the next one. Nothing was enough. And I had been restless, irritable, and discontent my whole life. But you know what? Nobody pulls you over for being a bitch. And nobody suggests a 12-step program because you're annoying and controlling and bossy and arrogant. But they sure as hell do when you're drinking and driving and waking up in the emergency room one more time. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to this program. I don't think I will live enough days on this earth to pay you back for what you've given to me, because the fellowship is what made me fall in love with AA. It was listening to your stories. It was the fact that I would come into the rooms and you remembered my name and you were happy to see me and you just didn't care what was going on. You were happy to see me and you wanted to give me what you have. And what you gave me was truly a life beyond my wildest imagination. Today, I don't wake up in fear. Today, I have a purpose. I am of service. Today, I have a God of my understanding who is a loving God and an inclusive God. And my God thinks that I'm a really good singer too. And, I have a spiritual life that makes me feel whole. I missed the church. I did. I missed the rituals. I missed the community. I missed the smells. Felt like home. And you can't spell spiritual without ritual. And you guys gave me that. You guys gave me that. You gave me a relationship with my mother that I didn't have when she was alive, because today I understand that every time she made those promises, she meant it. And I know that because every time I made those promises, I meant it. And you have, with such grace and with such generosity, shared your stories. And I know that when you've made those promises, you meant it. We're not bad people trying to get good. We're sick people trying to get better. I had to set aside everything I thought I knew. And I mean everything, from how I learned to why, because I'm the queen of why. And you guys taught me it's not about why, it's about why not. In Spanish, we say por qué, like why, right? It's not porque, it's para qué, for what. And it's not about what I'm doing, it's how I do it. And this is not something from the outside in. You guys gave me this ability to live my life where I don't have to think, I don't have to figure things out. I'm not by myself. It's not all on me. I don't carry the burden for all Mexicans. I don't even carry the burden for me. It's not mine. I walk in the shadow of my higher power. I walk, in the footsteps of, and I follow the giants in Alcoholics Anonymous who came before me. That's all of you. I will forever be grateful for the fact that today I'm armed with facts about myself that I never knew. I never knew. I always thought that I was this very complex person and blah, blah, blah. You know what? I'm so basic. Turns out, Miss Independent, Miss I don't need anybody, Miss, I'll pay, I'm large and in charge. I like to cook. I like to bake. I like to decorate. I like Pilates. I mean, I'm so basic. I'm like a 40s housewife, basically. And, you know, I'm fine with that. I like knowing who I am today because I'm only looking for the people who are looking for me. They can't find me if I don't know me. You know, I did not come into the rooms willing to do what you suggested because I was convinced that you had what I wanted. I was willing to do what you suggested because I'm such a jerk that I was proving to my sponsor that this doesn't work. You know how it says, rarely have we seen a person fail? I'm the rarely. That's what I would say to my sponsor. I'm the rarely, because I had spent my whole life being the rarely on purpose. I thought I was a victim. You taught me how to look at things and like, how could I do it differently? Not in blaming me or shaming me, but in giving me the love to see how things could be different. And I love that. I love that every time I'm uncomfortable, every time I make a mistake, it's just an opportunity for spiritual growth. And you taught me that that is the be all and end all. And you taught me that to be able to accept love and to give love, you know, it's not external, it's internal. And I'm very grateful because I thought I was so brave and so confident and I had so much going on. I was so smart and I came in here a grown ass woman, but I did not come in here as an adult. I had a lot of information, but I did not have wisdom. And you guys taught me to listen. You taught me to set aside what I think I know in order to have a new experience. You taught me to live 24 hours at a time and be available for all of those new experiences, the infinite possibilities of life. You know, when I get to live those, when I let that sunlight of the spirit in by getting out of the way, all the infinite possibilities are right there as soon as I get out of the way. Because when I'm in the way, it's finite. It's me, my great ideas, the ones that got me here. I love that I get to be useful to other women. You know, my mother never made it into these rooms. My mother never had a spiritual awakening. She never knew that she was sick. She never knew there was a solution. But her daughter is here, and her daughter gets to be here with you. And her daughter will spend every day, every 24 hours that I have on this earth, paying Alcoholics Anonymous back for what I've been given. And, you know, today I look in the mirror and I like what I see. I like the woman that I've become. I like the fact that I say what I mean and I mean what I say, and that people can depend on me and they trust me. And I like the fact that I intuitively know how to do things that used to baffle me. And that's not me. None of it is me. Me is clunk, 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 you know, and thinking that AA is social hour and like, I didn't really want anything in the rooms, but if your husband was there, I was going to take him. Why not? That's me, you know, and you guys have turned me into a woman whose word means something, a woman of dignity, a woman armed with facts about myself, and a woman who doesn't create wreckage, not knowingly, that I have to clean up. I like the fact that I get to live this life, that I get to live, you know, steps 10, 11, and 12 every day. I enjoy the process of being teachable and willing and learning. I love listening to your stories. I love the traditions. I'm such a nerd. The pandemic has been such a such a wonderful opportunity for me to really, really, really take a deep dive and do what I was doing in other areas of my life, but do it here. And it's been miraculous and beautiful and such a gift. And I want to say that I'm so grateful for the members of this fellowship who have the confidence and the courage and the love to tell me what I needed to hear and not what I wanted to hear, who cared more about my sobriety than my feelings, because you saved my life. Had you not told me that I'm a coward and that I need to shut up and listen and that I didn't have anything that you wanted, but you did it in a way that made me laugh. And you did it in a way that was not necessarily ironic, but kind of tongue in cheek, like you had a secret. And I was intrigued. I wanted to know the secret. And I'm really grateful for those people. I'm really grateful for those people who keep AA being AA. And sometimes they appeared, a little grumpy, a little ornery. But I know today that if not for them, there wouldn't have been a place for me to go that saved my life. You guys saved my life. I almost missed all of this. So I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. And for anyone who doubts, that this works, oh my God. I mean, I am an arrogant, out of control, self-indulgent. I've got way too much time and money on my hands, and I can do a lot of damage to myself and others. And I don't do that because my life depends on it. Today, I keep my side of the street clean. I trust God, and I am of service, and it is the great joy of my life. I want to thank you for having me. Thank you to my friends who showed up. I have sponsees here, and my friend Chris came, and Rico, and Tio Dude, and Amanda, and Pamela. Thank you so much, guys. And I'm sure there's people that I'm forgetting, or not forgetting, but I'm not saying, it's not like I'm accepting an Emmy, but I have like, oh, yeah, I think. But I want to say something quickly. I felt sorry for myself for a long time. And I used to think that I drank, and I would tell people that I drank, because of this tragedy or that tragedy. And you guys have given me a way of life where even during the difficult times, when I'm going through something tough, I never feel God. I don't see God. I'm not one of those people. It's like, oh, I feel God. I'm not. I wish I were. I'm not. And especially when I'm going through something difficult. But I do have faith. I do have faith. And that's something that you taught me. You taught me how to walk in that faith. And I have faith that this too shall pass. And if I breathe and I use all those tools that you've given me throughout the years, right, that more will be revealed. And it always is. It always has been. And when I am willing to do the next indicated action, when I am willing to do what you ask of me, it always turns out better than I could have imagined. And that's not me being Pollyanna. It's the truth. I don't feel God necessarily in those moments. But when I get to the other side and I look in the rearview mirror, I see God's fingerprints everywhere. And when I think that something I'm being asked to do has nothing to do with alcohol, I don't ask anymore. Go back to, don't ask why, ask what for, right? And sometimes I'll do it just to demonstrate, one of the principles, whether it's humility or whatever, whatever. Uh, but, um, it's remarkable to me how I can be taught at I mean, I didn't take my first drink until I was 40, how I can be taught basic stuff from you, like get up and make your own bed. And I would say, but I have a housekeeper, make your own bed. When I'm in a hotel, I make my own bed today. And I don't do it because anyone's watching. I do it because it is my way. I said, you can't spell spiritual without ritual. This is one of my things. I wake up and I make my bed because that is me checking in with my homie, with God of my understanding, and saying, I'm here to serve your will, not mine, because believe me, it is not my will to be making beds, but your will, not mine. And I am willing to do whatever it takes. I'm willing to go to whatever lengths, including coming to India at 5 a.m. and speaking when I've been up for 2 days and my boss is losing her mind. Today, I'm so lucky. I am a speechwriter for the Vice President of the United States. When I was offered the job, I said, I will take this job and I will do a good job, but I have to have Thursday nights off and I have sponsees. And when my sponsees video FaceTime me, I have to step out of it. Like there's no negotiating. And they respect that. And when we say our way of life has its benefits for all, I cannot tell you how I've seen the people that I work with come alive by participating in the traditions that you taught me, that I practice at work, and then they end up practicing at work. And it is amazing. So much so that when I logged out to be here with you right now, the last thing that my boss said to me was, okay, go get some of that serenity and then bring it back to me. And she means it. And she loves Alcoholics Anonymous. And she loves what this program does. She loves that families get reunited and people get made whole. And we get our dignity and we get our lives in a way that we didn't ever imagine. I should speak only in first person. I apologize for that. Like, I could not imagine that this would be my life. I could not imagine that I would feel this good at this point. In these circumstances, I just thought I had to have certain things, and I didn't realize that what I needed was just love. So thank you for loving me, and thank you for letting me love you right back, because I freaking love you, you alcoholics. And I'm just going to keep on coming back.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you. Yes, you really deserve an applause from every one of us. And believe me, it was